Today I'm going to be demonstrating the process I use to take pictures of shoes to resell online. Along the way, I'm also going to be pinpointing out some tips that are going to be super useful to help you make your pictures look professional. And that's very important because it's going to give potential buyers the confidence to buy from you if they can see the shoes very clearly from all angles. Some of these tips are also going to help you speed up your picture taking process. The first tip is to have the necessary supplies and equipment. I have my setup here to start taking my pictures, and I will explain to you what all of these things are, where you can get them. But first, I just want to be very clear that I did not start off with everything I am about to show you. I started off with nothing when I started reselling, and slowly over time I've built up my gadgets. I'm a big proponent of starting small and slowly investing in these things as your business grows. So don't feel like you need all of these things to get started, but these are some of the things that you may want to purchase later down the line. First thing, you will need a white or a plain background. I use these poster boards here that I buy at Walmart. They're Elmer glue poster boards. But if you happen to have white furniture like this one here, sometimes I will also just use this up against the wall. That also creates that all around white background that I like. And if none of those things are available to you right now, as long as you can find a spot that is free of clutter, that will work just fine. Next, very important thing is lighting. If you want those clear pictures that show all the flaws and the condition of your shoes very well, you're going to need some decent light. This is the light that I've been trying out for the past 2 weeks. It's a massive ring light. This is by a brand called Neewer. They sent it to me a couple of weeks ago to try it out, and so far I am loving it. I love how big it is, so I only need this one light to light up my whole setup instead of needing multiple small lights. It also feels extremely sturdy compared to other lights I've tried in the past. So I really do feel very confident in recommending this brand to you. I will leave this particular light linked in the description down below. And from there, you can also check out their Amazon page where they have all sorts of lights for all sorts of needs, shapes, sizes. They have a lot of different things on there and different price ranges too. So make sure to check them out down below. And your next best option, if you cannot get a hold of a light right now, would be to just use natural light. But in that case, you are going to have to make sure that you set aside time to take pictures when the sun is out and bright so that you do get those clear photos. Other things you will need when it comes to taking pictures of shoes is something to hold up very tall shoes. So like those long riding boots, sometimes they tend to flop over, and this is what I use to keep them up straight. These are just the inserts that go inside like the wrapping paper or the paper towels in my kitchen. But I also do have these that are from lint rollers that I used up. I will also use these to help me keep my boots up and straight. And for heels and sandals with floppy straps, I use acrylic clear shoe inserts. They do take a little bit of adjusting, but they do make them stand up straight so that they look more presentable. For those boots that are tall or anything with a heel or a platform, you also need something to measure. I have this small one and I have this larger one that I use for super tall boots. I also keep a lint roller by me when I'm taking pictures of shoes because sometimes the suede shoes can pick up a little bit of dust or lint here and there, so I make sure to take care of that before I take the pictures. Another thing you may need are poly bags. I use these to store my shoes and then I put them up in my inventory until they sell. I have 4 different types of bags I use. The first one is what I call the extra small bag, and this will hold small sandals or kid size shoes. Just any small shoes will fit in here. Then we have the small size bag, and this one holds most of the shoes that I take pictures of. Any sneakers, dress shoes, most of them fit in here just right. Then we have this medium bag, and this one I will use for mid-calf boots, and some chunkier ankle boots will fit in here too. And lastly, we have this very large bag, and this is the one that I will use for the super tall boots or any very chunky shoes. And the last thing that's part of my supplies here is a scale. I like to take the weight of my shoes and all other items as I'm taking the pictures. That just makes it easier, gets it out of the way, and I don't have to worry about it later. Tip number 2 is to have an effective setup. I'm going to turn the camera around and walk you through the process that I go through and what my setup looks like and how I have it set up to make sure things go along more quickly. So first off, I make sure that I have all the shoes that I'm photographing within arm's reach and in the order that I want to photograph them in. I have my whiteboard set up for my all white background. I have my SKU numbers that I will be adding to the shoes here as well. All of my bags are ready to go. So essentially the shoe will come here. I'll take the photographs, then I'll get a bag, put it in there, put the SKU number right on it, and then put the item on this scale along with the SKU number and take a picture of the item, making sure that I can see the SKU number, and then it will go into this basket so that it's easier for me to move it to the inventory once I am done. Basically, you want to create an assembly line for yourself. Depending on the space that you're working with, something like what I just showed you may work for you, or maybe you'll need to make some adjustments. Time really is money in this business, so the faster you can process these shoes and take the pictures and list them, the more sales you will make. So my recommendation is to time yourself often. Lay everything that you need out in order. Time yourself with one picture of one pair of shoes, make some adjustments, and then time yourself again until you get to a point where you're happy with how fast you're going. Along those same lines, tip number 3 is to know your angles. This right here is a cheat sheet that I created for my son. He's been helping me take pictures whenever he can. So I created this so that he knows what pictures I want and in what order. And before he started taking pictures for me, I did have a general idea of what angles I wanted of the shoes and in what order. It just lived in my head. But writing it down is very useful because if you ever need to hire help in the future, you already have this documented and ready to go, and it'll be a lot easier to teach them what you want them to do. So for shoes, this is what I do. I take a picture of the cover photo, so the picture that will be the main one that shows up in the selling platforms. Then a picture of the front towards the toes, under the toes, just because I like them to see how much wear is on the shoe, and that will be a good representation of that. Over the top of the shoe, and if I can get a picture of the insoles, all the better. Then we do the tag and the info, what material it's made out of, and then we do the back, and that's where we add the ruler so that we can measure the platform or the heel of the shoe. Then we lay both of the shoes towards the left and take a picture of that, then both of the shoes towards the right. And then lastly, we take care of taking a picture of the sole and any details that the shoe may have, like studs, buckles, anything like that. The angles and the order that you do them in really doesn't matter. All that matters is that you create a consistent method that you follow again and again. Because when you do the things the same way every time, as I said earlier, it'll just be easier once you start hiring help. But also your body just becomes accustomed to it, and the more you do it, it's just gonna become like second nature, making things move a lot faster. Aside from your setup, another thing you want to optimize is your phone for better photos. And the number one most important part of that is to make sure that your phone is set up in square mode. I use a Galaxy. This here is a Note 9 or something, and basically what you want to do with this is click on this button that has the ratio up here, and here you can change it to different sizes. So if I change this to full, it'll take the whole picture in a larger form, and so when you upload this to Poshmark, it's not going to work. It's gonna cut it out. So what you need to do is change it from full over to the 1:1 ratio. So that's how this phone works. I'm sure that most other Androids work in a similar way. If you have an iPhone, you can always Google how to change your camera into square mode, and I'm sure you can find an article or a video to help you out with that. Another thing you can search on YouTube or Google is how to get clearer photos on the type of iPhone or Android that you have. For example, I did not know that if you are going to take a picture using this phone that I have, you can just tap in the middle of the picture and that will instantly clarify it, making any details more bright and just more easy to see. I didn't know also that you can lock that. So if you brighten it, you can lock it so that all the pictures come out this bright. And you just click it again to unlock it. You can also use this scrolly thing down here to make the picture darker or brighter before you take the picture. That is super useful when you're taking pictures of black clothing, to adjust the brightness and contrast before you take the picture. I'm not sure if you're really able to see the difference that makes by tapping the middle of the phone. To me, it makes a world of difference, especially with shoes that have a lot of things going on, like studding, a lot of straps, anything like that. It just brightens up the picture, makes it look so much better. But that and many other things that I did not know about my phone until I searched it up. So go onto YouTube, type in your phone type or the model and put in picture tips afterwards, and you'll be able to find loads of videos to show you how to optimize your phone to take better pictures. And then the final tip is to edit your pictures. If you're using great lighting and you learn the best settings for your phone, you may not need to do this step, but if you still don't have great lighting or if you just choose to, you can always edit your pictures. So I want to show you what's the best app to do that the quickest. But first I'm going to go ahead and take pictures of 2 pairs of shoes. That way I can have some pictures to show you how to edit, and also just so that you can see how the whole process works and how to put everything that we've been talking about into play. So we'll start with these shoes here. Right now, these shoes are just under natural lighting. Here to the right, I have this massive window that's letting in a lot of light, but I just want to show you what difference this ring light makes. So that is the ring light turned on, and as you can see, it just brightens up the whole background. So most of the time when I take pictures of shoes, I will lay the front one just straight here. The one in the back will have a little bit of a twist going to it, but I do like to have it a little bit further back just so that it doesn't get covered up by the shoe once I take the picture. My phone is set up on the 1:1 ratio. I always try to double check that before I get started. I don't want to take 20 pictures and then notice that it's been on the wrong setting. I point my phone towards the item and then I scoot forward as much as I can to get rid of any white space. This right here would be good for me. This right here would not be. That's just too much white space all around. That is basically void and useless. I rather have the item taking up most of the space so that you're able to see it clearly. If I tap in the middle, that will brighten up these shoes, and then I can snap this cover photo. Next up is this toe box. Then I will slightly lift the shoes to take a picture of the bottom of the toes so they can see how much wear these shoes have. And then I will take a picture of the tag here over the top of the shoes with the ruler so that we can show how tall these shoes are. As I'm going along, I noticed this flaw, which I don't want to forget, so I'm going to go ahead and photograph that. Then we'll put them both towards one side and then both towards the other side. Next, we'll set them up to take a picture of the sole. And lastly, it's just any details that may be on these shoes. So I'll get a close-up of the studs, of this contrast stitch in here, and maybe of the heel itself. Next, we bag the shoes and add the SKU number as I have done with these here. From here, these will go to this scale where I will take a picture, making sure I can see the SKU number. And once that is done, they go here. The app that I use to edit my photos is called Photo Room. I do have the Pro plan so that you can do batching and you won't get a watermark. You can also use the free plan. You will get a watermark, but you can also always crop that out later. What I do to get started is click this batch option here at the bottom. From there, I will click on Start Batch. And then here are all the photos that I just took. Normally, I just edit my cover photos, but I'm going to choose a few more right now just so that you can see how fast this thing works. So I'll choose the cover photo and a few more for each pair of shoes. And when you're done choosing the photos you want to edit, you're going to click the check mark at the top right of the app. And what this is going to do is switch out your background for a pure white background. Then you can just click on export images and then save to gallery. And that's going to save these photos on your phone. Everything that I talked about today will be linked down in the description. If you have any questions about anything that I talked about, make sure to leave that down in the comments below. And that's all for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.